The champagne flute slipped from my fingers, shattering against the polished oak floor of the vineyard's tasting room like a gunshot in the hush of twilight. Shards glittered under the string lights, catching the golden hues of the Napa sunset bleeding through the arched windows, and for a split second, the world held its breath. My fiancée, my Elena, the woman whose laughter had once been my anchor through med school marathons and midnight shifts, stood at the head of our rehearsal dinner table, her voice slicing through the clink of silverware and murmured toasts like a blade honed on secrets. "I've decided we need a prenuptial agreement," she said, her words hanging in the air, crisp and unyielding, as if she'd rehearsed them in front of a mirror that reflected someone I no longer recognized. The room, our closest friends, her parents with their silver streak hair and expectant smiles, my brother nursing a scotch with that perpetual half-grin, froze into a tableau of awkward perfection. The air smelled of aged oak barrels and fermenting grapes, thick with the promise of forever we'd all come here to celebrate. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic Morse code of what the hell? Elena's eyes, those deep hazel pools I drowned in 1,000 times, flicked to mine, holding just long enough to spark a flicker of something. Guilt? Pity? Or was it the Chardonnay playing tricks, turning affection into accusation? I forced a laugh, the kind that bubbles up from denials, well, raw and jagged in my throat. "Babe, we're hours for vows. What's this about?" Cold feet and legalese. She didn't smile back. Instead, she smoothed the lace edge of her cream sundress, the fabric whispering against her skin like a confession deferred. Around us, the vines outside rustled in the breeze, their leaves a verdant blur through the glass, mocking the rooted stability we'd built over 7 years. Her mother cleared her throat, a soft rattle of pearls against pearls, and murmured something about practicality in these uncertain times, but I barely heard it. My mind raced ahead, piecing together fragments I'd dismissed as wedding stress. The late nights at her gallery job, phone silenced face down on the nightstand, that faint cologne, sandalwood and citrus, not mine, clinging to her scarf last month. Rationalizations crowded in like uninvited guests. She's protecting us both, right? Artists like her, with their fluctuating commissions, always worry about the what-ifs. But the doubt gnawed deeper, a quiet unease uncoiling in my gut, warm and insidious as the wine we'd shared earlier. As the evening unraveled, plates of seared scallops and heirloom tomatoes passed hand to hand, laughter forced like brittle toasts. I watched her from across the long farmhouse table, the candle flames dancing shadows across her face. She engaged with everyone, her voice lilting through stories of our first disastrous hike in Yosemite, where I'd twisted my ankle and she'd carry my pack for miles, her shoulders straining but her grin unbreakable. God, I loved her then, still did, fiercely in that bone-deep way that made betrayal feel like amputation. But tonight, her anecdotes carried an undercurrent, a hesitation before each punchline, as if the words tasted foreign on her tongue. My best friend, Marcus, caught my eye and raised his glass, mouthing, "You good?" I nodded, but inside, confusion swirled with a budding anger, hot and formless. Why now? Why here, with violins tuning in the corner and fairy lights twinkling like false stars? Later, as guests drifted to the fire pits crackling with applewood embers, their crackle pop syncing with the distant hum of crickets, Elena pulled me aside into the shadowed alcove of the barrel room. The air here was cooler, damp with the earthy tang of fermenting Merlot, barrels stacked like ancient sentinels guarding truths we weren't ready to face. Her hand in mine felt small, trembling slightly, guilt, I told myself, not fear. "Alex," she whispered, her breath warm against my collarbone, carrying the faint mint of her gum. "It's not about distrust. It's protection. For both of us." Her eyes searched mine, layered with that complexity I'd always adored. The fierce independence that drew me to her, the vulnerability she rarely showed. But there was more, a moral tangle in her gaze, regret woven with resolve, as if she'd weighed souls on a scale and found mine wanting. I pulled her closer, the wool of my blazer rough against her silk sleeve, inhaling the jasmine of her perfume mingled with that damned cologne. Talk to me, oh really? Is there something you're not saying? My voice cracked, betraying the love that warred with suspicion, the denial screaming that this was just pre-wedding jitters amplified by her bohemian family's tales of messy divorces. She hesitated, lips parting as if to spill it all, then closed them with a soft exhale. It's nothing. Just sign it tomorrow, okay? For us. Her kiss landed light on my jaw, a brush of warmth that ignited both comfort and confusion, leaving me adrift in the dim glow of a single hanging bulb, its filament humming like unspoken accusations. The night bled into dawn, but sleep evaded me in our suite overlooking the misty valleys. Elena stirred beside me, her breathing steady, while I lay rigid, staring at the ceiling's exposed beams, splintered shadows from the moon slicing through gauzy curtains. Inner conflict clawed at me. Was this anger justified, or just paranoia born of exhaustion? I loved her, the way she'd trace constellations on my back during thunderstorms, whispering myths of Orion's unrequited chase. The quiet mornings when she'd brew coffee strong enough to wake the dead, handing me a mug with a wink that said, "We're in this." Yet doubt festered, rationalized as protectiveness. Maybe the prenup was her way of safeguarding the life we'd sketched, our dream house in the hills, kids with her artist's eye and my surgeon's steady hands. But fear whispered darker. What if it was an exit strategy, a velvet glove over a fist of finality? By morning, as sunlight filtered through the vines like liquid gold, staining the rumpled sheets, I slipped from bed. Her phone buzzed on the charger, screen lighting up with a notification I shouldn't have seen but couldn't ignore. A text from Julian, her old college flame, the sculptor whose bronzes she'd curated last spring. Last night was everything. Can't wait for Paris. Don't let him clip your wings. My chest caved, a visceral punch that stole breath and bent me double over the edge of the vanity, marble cold under my palms. Heartbreak crashed in waves. Raw. Choking sobs, I muffled into a towel, tasting salt and betrayal. Confusion followed. Had I missed the signs? The way she'd linger over his emails, claiming work inspiration, the sudden interest in flight deals to Europe, dismissed as just dreaming. Anger surged then, a red haze blurring the mirror's reflection of my hollowed eyes. But beneath it, love clung stubborn, guilty for the rage that made me want to shatter her illusions as she'd shattered mine. I confronted her in the shower, steam curling like ghosts around the frosted glass, water pattering a relentless rhythm that drowned half her words. Julian? Paris? What the fuck, Elena? My voice echoed off the tiles, laced with the tremor of a man unraveling thread by thread. She emerged, towel clutched like a shield, droplets tracing rivulets down her collarbone, her face a mask cracking at the edges, shock, then sorrow, deep and layered with the weight of choices that weren't black and white. It started as nothing, she admitted, voice fracturing, late nights at the gallery, his hands on clay, mine on canvas. He saw parts of me you couldn't, Alex. The wildness. But I love you. This prenup, it's my out if I can't stop. Her words hung, believable in their broken honesty, revealing her moral quagmire. A woman torn between the safe harbor of us and the storm of passion that made her feel alive, her betrayal not malice but a desperate grasp at wholeness. We stood there, the air heavy with shampoo's citrus bite and the acrid sting of tears, as guests' voices drifted up from the courtyard. Laughter, oblivious. Denial flickered in me one last time, a fragile plea. Forgive, rebuild. But shattered trust gaped like a wound, bleeding confusion into fury, love into irreparable grief. Sign it, I said finally, voice a hollow rasp. But know this ends us. She nodded, eyes glistening, her hand reaching for mine. A final tether snapped. As the ceremony loomed, vows scripted on crisp vellum, I slipped away to the vineyard's edge, grapes heavy and dust-kissed under my fingers, their juice staining my skin like indelible sin. The twist uncoiled then, not in her flight to Paris, but in the mirror of my own heart. I'd known deep down about my own silences, the flirtations with a colleague during rotations, buried under duty. We'd both betrayed, not with bodies first, but with the quiet erosion of truths unspoken. In that sun-drenched solitude, anger dissolved into a profound ache, reflective and raw. Love wasn't a monolith, but a fragile mosaic, pieced from flaws we both carried. I walked back, not to the altar, but to a new beginning, alone, yet strangely whole, the vines whispering of growth from ruins' fertile soil.